Here's my snake head looking for food, but do you notice that one of the foods looks different? One food is purple, and the reason that is so is because I want that to be the next food that is eaten. So for example, now my snake must go and eat the fruit that is purple, and it's all fine. Next, I must eat, let's say, this food. I have to be careful of the secret passage over there. So I go and eat this food, escape narrowly. I will come down here and eat again, for example, this one. I will eat the next one, which is right here. So I eat this. Next, I need to go back down. I will go and eat, for example, this. I must go up and eat the seventh one, the eighth one actually. I go and eat this. I've got two more left over here. Now I'll just go and eat this one, staying away from the poison. And finally, I'm left with just one, so I will go and eat that. Having done this, I'll try to come to the center like usual, and I'm told how many steps I took. Now, obviously, I took a lot of steps because the way I went around is how this game wanted me to pick up these pieces, pick up the foods and eat them. What happens if I do not eat them in its right order? Let's see this. So now let's say I'm supposed to eat the food on the top left, but I don't follow this order and I try to go and eat some other food. Let me just try to do, let's say, with this food. Notice I get a message saying wrong order and the game gets over. Welcome back, my friends. We are looking to enhance the Hungry Traveling Snake project from the YBite Python curriculum available at www.ybite.in. In this video, we'll see how we can enforce a certain eating order that the snake must follow. That obviously makes it game quite interesting. That much more concentration required. We'll see how we can do this in a step-by-step manner. What are the challenges involved and how can we overcome those challenges? Like I said, the feature we are looking at in this game is to say, okay, I'm going to add one more constraint to the game. I want the snakehead, this is a typo. I want our snakehead to eat the foods in a specific order. And if the player does not follow the order, the game gets over. Now let's see what are the challenges in doing this. First of all, we must figure out a way to indicate to the player which is the food that must be eaten next. For example, in the demonstration I just gave you, the food to be eaten next is given a different color, in this case, a purple color. Next, I must determine somehow if the foods are being eaten in the correct order. For example, how do we know that the food that is eaten right now is in the right order or it's not in the right order? Well, the way we do that is that we maintain a list called order. Now, for now, and without loss of generality, we say, okay, look, food 0 must be eaten first, food 1 must be eaten second, and so on and so forth. Now, this is okay for now because foods are being randomly sprinkled, as we just saw in the demonstration. It basically means that any food randomly is kind of being picked up to say, okay, now you go and eat this next. But of course, this list order can be created in many, many different ways. As we'll see later on, we can also say, okay, look, this is your nearest neighbor. Now, please go and eat this because that could result in a more optimal path. But right now, we'll not bother too much about how we create this list order. We'll be more interested in how we use this list order in this game. Now, the first thing first, like I said, we need to give a different color. So remember, the foods are all this, a list, or in a list called list of foods. As I said, we are going to create one more list called order. Whichever food is on the top of that list called order, we give it a different color. So that's number one. Now, once the food is eaten, we again check if this eaten food was on top of the order list. If yes, then we allow the game to proceed. We update the order list by deleting the top item. So what does that mean? The top item on the list is the next to be eaten. If I delete the present one, then it's the next one that has to be eaten. And again, the same check will hold. If no, then we tell, okay, look, the game is getting over and tell the user a message that, look, you ate these in wrong order. Now, I must add that this feature, while quite interesting, quite imaginative in many ways, also makes the game somewhat hard to play because it's very easy to run into a different order and the game gets over. But nonetheless, from programming point of view, this is quite interesting. So let's just see this graphically a little bit. Remember, like I said, we already have a list of foods available to us. So let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all the turtles. We also create a list called order. Now, like I said in the beginning, right now, that is for this video, I'm just saying, okay, order is say 0 in the same order. So which means that I must eat food 0 first, food 1 second, food 2 next, and so on and so forth. But there is no compulsion. I could have this jumbled up. So I might say, for example, 4, food 4 must be eaten first, right? This could be any order. Like I said, any algorithm can be used to kind of create this list. But, right now we'll keep it this way. Now, what this means is that I must go and eat food 0. If I do eat food 0, as we know, the food 0 becomes part of a segment. List of foods, this becomes eaten. That's what I, sort of highlight that there's another list going on, eaten. this food is eaten, and I go and delete 0 from the top of the order. So that's why this becomes 1. What it means is that I have eaten 1, now I must food number 1. I'm sorry, I've eaten 0, I must eat food number 1. Once I eat food number 1, well, I see, okay, look, 0 and 1 have been eaten. 1 gets deleted from the list. Next food to be eaten is 2, and of course 0 and 1 are part of the segment. Now let's say I go and eat some other food. Say in this example right now I go and eat food number 4. Well, I'll make a check immediately. Is food number 4 the top of the list order? If it is not, then I know that I've eaten this in an incorrect order, and kind of that visually comes out as well. So let's just, create, let's see how we do this. So the list of expected order, I called it order earlier, but I'm going to call it expected order. Basically, I'm just going to create a list between 0 and 10. Now, this is this comprehension. All we are saying is, look, go in the range 0 to 9. So because I'm just going step 1 and create a list expected order. If this length list is more than 1, then well, look through all the foods. If I'm on the top of this list, well, give me a special color. And that's exactly what we want. That way, as we just saw in the demonstration, the food that must be eaten next will always be purple in color. Let's just do this first. So so I come to my code over here. Like I said, once the foods have been created, so foods have been also placed in a certain way. Like I said, we are placing them a little bit far away from each other so that this feature kind of makes sense. Now, once all this is over, the list of foods has been, let's say, created as well. I can just create an expected order. Let's say expected order of, say, eating. And I just create this list right now. Say I call it X order. You can also call it order, doesn't matter. The name really doesn't matter here. So I say expected order is, let's say, X. Now, this is a very interesting statement. I say X for X in range, say, 0, 10, 1. And basically this creates a list 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Because what we are saying is that we'll run X in this range and take that X value and put that in the list. So, it creates a very nice compact list called 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, as part of this list, as part of the main loop, I go and tell, look, when the game is not over, while the game is not over, if your list of expected food is not empty, so I just say if, let's say, length of, say, XP order is, let's say, greater than 0, so that means the list is not empty. I'm going to give the food on the top of this order list, let's say, a different color. For that purpose, I run a small for loop. I say, well, for KK in range, let's say range, say, n foods. So I run KK from 0 until 10. If, let's say, KK is equal to expected order, say, 0. Remember, this is the top of the list. If this happens, I want that particular food to be given a different color. So I just say, well, list of foods, say, KK dot color, for example, let's say purple. Now, when I run this code, notice that one food is purple, but right now no order is being enforced. It's just I can eat any food, nothing will happen. But let's now build, a situation where, well, when I eat the foods in a wrong order, indeed I get penalized. Otherwise, the game gets over. So I come into my code here where the food is eaten. Notice when the distance between turtle head and the snake head and the foods becomes less than 20, I say eaten is true. So I come right here. I know the food has been eaten. Now is when I'm going to do the check. I say, well, if KK is equal to EXP order, say 0, that means that I've eaten the food which was on the top of the expected order, then everything is good, because all I need to do is, well, I'll say, look, this is perfectly fine. Everything can go on as usual, but I must update my list of expected foods. I just say, well, expected order dot, say, pop 0. Now pop 0 is going to remove item 0 from that list. That's exactly what I said. So update gets ordered. Now if on the other hand this does not happen, so which means that I've eaten in wrong order, so I say eaten in wrong order. If that is the case, then of course the game has to get over. So I'm going to copy, let's say, I'm going to, so eaten wrong order. Of course, now in this case the game must get over. So I just say, well, game over is equal to true, so the game gets over. Once this happens, well, I'm going to hide my turtle like usual. Once this happens, I'm also going to hide all the segments which have been eaten previously. So I just, in fact, I've done this before, so I'll just go and pick up, let's say, this piece of code. So I just go and do, let's say, just this, right? So see, and I will go and do exactly this portion over here. I mean, because we've done this before, and that's exactly what is needed here. So I come here and say, well, okay, so that looks wrong. I must get the indentation correct. Put the pen up, and then for all the segments, I will I'll just say, well, please hide the segment because game is getting over. Of course, the reporting will change a little bit. So I come and say, okay, so I come and say, well, report, for example, out of order, out, or say wrong order, wrong order. So I say here, for example, wrong order. Now let's see this working. I must eat the food that is in purple. That happens to be this food. Next, I should eat this. Everything looks okay so far. Let me just keep doing this. Let me just keep going through this so that we can be sure that this is working. I go and eat the next food, which is being made purple. Now, obviously, this leads to a longer route. This makes the game harder, but it's also interesting. So I just go and say, look, let me now eat, for example, say this food. Then I'll go and eat the next food, and I'll eat, let's say, the food which is in purple once again. I go and eat this food. Next, oops, be very careful because there's poison, there's obstacles, there's a lot of constraints that are going on here. I go and eat this purple food. This is perfect. And now I've got only one left. So I better not, mess that up. I just go and say, let's say this, and I come to the center where I'm expecting to be told how many steps I took. I do this. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of steps because I went around quite a bit. Now, on the other hand, let's say I were to not follow this order, go and see, eat some other turtle. Notice I get the game to be over. It says wrong order over here. Now just realize that there was an indentation error over this. So notice the report.write has to be out of this for loop. This is exactly what we have been doing earlier. So that's okay. Now, before I wrap this up, I just want to highlight why is it that we need to check for, let's say, in giving special color, why do I need to check for this list being empty? Well, the reason I need to do this is because if I were to not do this, remember, after all the foods have been eaten, the list expected order is going to become empty. Once that happens, then I will get an error if I were to go and index into this list. So just to avoid that situation, I'm saying, okay, look, if the expected order is not empty, which means there's at least one food to be eaten, give it a different color. Otherwise, so as there are no turtles to be done anyway, so just ignore this piece of code. Also, before I wrap this up, let me just show you exp order is x for x in range 0 until 0, 10, 1. Now what this does, as I was mentioning, is a list here exp order. Now we also use the pop function. So if I were to use the pop function, so exp order is 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9 as we had expected. But if I were to do expected order dot pop 0, it removes the first item. And what happens to the expected order then is that it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do this, say, once again. Oh, my bad here. I do this, let's say, once again. And expected order is then just 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's the whole thing, that we are deleting the top of the expected order in order for the game to keep working. So this is quite interesting, really. I hope you found this interesting, and if you think in general this way of learning is fun for you, making activities, enhancing them, thinking through their different aspects, applying concepts in practice, look at our website www.ybyte.in because we learn Python through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.